Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all in the lovely city of Dubrovnik, the city of freedom and free citizens, which maybe you are wondering why I'm telling this. If you read the poem at, at our webpage and your invitation letter, you will see that this poem is glorify the freedom as the highest pressure of our society. That's why we are here to speak freely about sustainability, about sustainable development, and this is our ultimate goal for this conference. We are also running in a hybrid mode, so I'm welcoming all of you following us on the internet, and I'm glad, really glad to see you all here in this large number, which means that we survived one crisis, and let's hope that we will go through all the others that are in front of us. We are running this conference since 2002, and it was a project of Professor Carvalho, Professor Afgan, Professor Dujic, Professor Bogdan, Professor Ružinski, and Professor Ivo Šlaus from Croatian Academy of Science, and we own them a lot because of this great conference, and we also own a lot to the person sitting next to me, Professor Zvonimir Guzovic, who is a conference secretary since 2003, and he also is helping us with organizing all of this conference, so I would like to give him an applause, and I would like to give him a word to.
Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to the 18th SDEWES conference, Dubrovnik 2023. For this conference, 636 participants from 58 countries are registered. We will have 577 oral and 84 poster presentation. This is excellent and points to the importance of SDEWES conference, especially when we remember the recent catastrophic phenomena that are direct consequence of global warming. The summer of 2023 was Earth's hottest since global recording began in 1808. The months of June, July, and August combined were 0.23 degrees Celsius warmer than any other summer, and 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer than the average summer between 1951 and 1980. August alone was 1.2 degrees Celsius warmer than the average. This new record comes as exceptional heat swept across much of the world, exacerbating deadly wildfires in Canada and Hawaii, and heat waves in South America, Japan, Europe, and USA, while likely contributing to several rainfall in Italy, Greece, Central Europe, and Libya. Global average sea surface temperatures remain at record high levels for the time of this year from April to August. The high sea surface temperatures have coincided with the initial development of El Niño conditions that lead to warm temperatures across many parts of the planet. UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres warned on last Wednesday that humanity's dependence on fossil fuels has opened the gates of hell, opening a summit on climate ambitions in New York, unfortunately without USA and China. Speaking of terrible heat and historic fires this year, fueled by greenhouse gas emission, he stressed that it was not too late to limit the increase in global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The future is not written. It is up to you, the leaders to write it. He said, I would add also scientists. The SDEWES family is constantly growing from 140 participants at the first conference held in 2002 to 636 participants at this conference. Moreover, in addition to the traditional Dubrovnik SDEWES conferences, we also have a series of Southeast Europe conferences, Latin American conference, Asia Pacific conferences, and from next year, a North American conference. Finally, I am sure that you will enjoy again not only the technical presentations and valuable scientific discussion, but also the local hospitality, food, culture, and sightseeing of beautiful Dubrovnik. I wish all of us a successful conference. We hope that COVID is behind us, but be safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much for your coming and for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Guzovic. Now I will just repeat some of the numbers during my introductory presentation, just to see how we are going, and then we will continue with the program. As I already mentioned, this conference started actually as a small European project in the framework 5, which was organized by University of Zagreb and the Instituto Superior Técnico from Lisbon, and now University of Lisbon. We are running this conference almost for more than 20 years, and now we are also have our International Center of Sustainable Development of Energy, Water and Environment Systems, which is one of the executive organizers together with the other organizations involved in this. Also, we have a partnership and a patronage of Ministry of Science and Education and UNESCO, and also we have just a small number of the basic sponsors, but they are important, and we are looking forward to get more sponsors in future, because it's easier to organize conference when you have support. If we're going to see a little bit of numbers, so we have more than 600 participants from 58 countries, 270 cities, and almost 300 universities. But from this picture, we can see that most of participants come from Europe, and this means that maybe the travel is not as easy as it was before, but we are also looking forward to see you on our future conferences, which thankfully to Professor Dujic will be organized in North America, in Latin America, in Australia, which means that we will give opportunity to all these regions in the world to participate in the, I would like to say, the best conference on the sustainable development of energy, water, and environment system. And we have many of conferences organized until now, so you can see that from first conference here in Dubrovnik in 2002 to conferences all around Europe, but also one in Latin America. Hopefully next year it will be successfully organized for the third time. We had the Asia Pacific conference that was also organized, but unfortunately it went on a hybrid, but next year you will have a chance to visit it in person. As I already mentioned, this conference and now the series of these conferences is the result of European project with a small amount of funding, but then having the snowball effect. You can see that from really small incentives and visions, you can have really huge results. And by huge results, we are very proud to host all these people, and now here we are again growing, and this is the biggest conference in history of SDEWES conferences. So we have almost 636 participants that are registered. We know that there were some issues with the flights and the storm going here 2 days ago, but let's hope the many of you will be able to attend in person. And also we are running in a hybrid mode, which means that we have all presentations online, and this gives us a little freedom that you will be able to check if someone is missing. At least we have a recorded presentation. Why this conference is so successful? Because we are publishing many of special issues. And we are quite proud because the conference now published around 3,000 papers in really good journals, in distinguished journals. And people will like to say that maybe it's easier to publish a journal in special issues, but with SDEWES it's not the case. In SDEWES we are publishing the best papers in the special issues, and that's why the journal editors like the SDEWES conference, because all of our special issues are actually increasing their impact factor of their journals. So this is why important to have all of your papers published, and we hope that we will continue to have good cooperation with these journals, and actually there are metrics in which we can show that how conference papers are contributing to importance of the journal, but also of sustainable development. Then, when you are receiving so many good papers, of course it's hard to fit them to even into all the special issues. We started our own journal of the SDEWES of Sustainable Development of Water, Energy, Environment Systems, which is now run by Professor Neven Dujic, who is editor-in-chief. It's open source journal. It's indexed in many of databases. And what is the most important, since last year, we have the impact factor, which is 2.1. I hope this is a big achievement of this conference, but also of the International Center of Sustainable Development of Water, Energy, Environment Systems. I hope this journal will grow together with the other special issues, and we hope that you will manage to publish in it, but it's now even becoming also harder and harder. As I already mentioned, we are running this conference in a hybrid mode, and that's why it's important to have your presentations online, but also it is important that you check your presentations, and which gives you opportunity to answer all the questions that you will not be able to answer during the short presentations. Or we are running 10 parallel sessions here. We have people online also in hybrid mode, and that's why it is important that you check from time to time, and also to discuss and making this conference more successful. Of course that we will have some time, to discuss the papers, but let's hope that you will also get some certificates for your achievement, your activities, and you can also follow us in real time, and there will be also the quite good invited speakers here, and you will be able to watch these speeches again in our SDEWES online platform, which we call the SDEWES Talks. So you can find many of SDEWES lectures there. You will also be introduced to rules of conference by my colleague Tomislav later, and there will be a group photo at the end of this opening session. So we would like you to invite you later for this photo, so don't go away. Now, as I told you, this conference is really successful because we have an excellent international scientific committee made from the greatest scientists in sustainability topics. We are a multidisciplinary conference, and we owe a lot to the members of International Scientific Committee who are dedicated to the work for the conference. They make editorial work, they make a review of the papers, they select the best papers, and that's why this conference is very successful. So now I'm really sad to have to say that one of these members is not more with us, one of the greatest scientists that I have met, and it is Professor Jerzy Klemeš, who we own a lot. And really, he put a lot in this conference. He was a member of supervisory board of the International Center of Sustainable Development of Energy, Water, Environment System, and he was a member of many of the boards of the conference. I must say that I'm missing him a lot, especially because this is one of the first conferences that he's not here, and we were enjoying in all discussions, all questions that he posed, and he was really one of the greatest scientists that I've met in our field. So I would like to invite Professor Petar Varbanov just to remind us of some good memories and how big person was Professor Klemeš. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank Professor Kajacic for introducing me and for opening the discussions. Coming back to Professor Jerzy Klemeš, he was a truly remarkable scientist as a personality. I must say, we are going to see the influence of his legacy. It's still yet to come to realize it. So, to focus on specifically the SDEWES conference, we started our involvement with the conference. I think it was 2009, the first one. At least this is the oldest one which I could dig in my memory. This is how far we go. He was a part of the International Scientific Committee, and then he became one of the leading persons taking part in forming the programs, award committee, a lot of discussions. We have had a lot of new members of the SDEWES family brought through our session, and it was almost exclusively because of his drive and his networking skills. So what we have here is just a couple of pictures from the few last conferences, networking and talking at the conference. Here is what we had last year in Vlora. So this was the last conference where we had him with us fully and interacting. So his achievements are very serious. He managed to put Brno University of Technology on the map of science a little bit higher. So in addition to him, it's also me, Professor Stechlik, Dr. Van. Dr. Van should be around here somewhere. So he was recognized by the European Federation of Chemical Engineering, and there is what to be recognized for. Many projects, many conferences, a lot of editorial work. So this was the last project he initiated. We are still completing it. It's about combined cooling, heating, and power in buildings. The coordinator here is Krakow University of Technology. And it's not to discover new things, this is a demonstration stage project. Where it all started, it's a very nice picture that I would like to show. I'm not sure how many of you would recognize people on this photograph. We have Professor Klemisch here on the left-hand side. As a very young scientist, I think it was taken in 1994 or 93, something like that. This is the Department of Process Integration at UMIST in Manchester. So many of the people in that picture who you see sitting on the floor actually are now leading professors around the world. So as a result of so much work, Jerzy achieved very good impact, and the numbers which I put on the slide are just an illustration. I think the impact is much well beyond the numbers. So Web of Science or Scopus, whatever you open. This is one of his first works on heat exchanger networks in 85. Last century. This is a variation of the grid diagram with vertical arrangements. And this is, I'm just picking some points because it's impossible to cover everything, but this is my first involvement with him. We were working on heat exchanger network retrofit. Another important thing is he wasn't the initiator of the total site concept, but he was the person who put it on the map of science. It took a lot of persuasion to persuade the co-authors in this paper to actually publish it and start developing the concept. So something like, what is it, 10 years after that, they expanded the concept to not just have industry involved, but also residential and other urban actors which also can share and benefit from the sharing of energy. And the concept went along. So after this establishment, firm establishment in the roots of energy efficiency, Professor Klemisch also expanded the frontiers. This is the first project which I know about where he considered environmental impact alongside energy. It was a project for harvesting solar energy and storing it as a chemical energy in a chemical reactor for hydration, dehydration of certain salts. And they made the life cycle analysis. Then moving further was the realization that it's not just one environmental impact we have to track, there are many. On the other hand, engineers and policymakers, to make a decision, they need something which summarizes. So this is how they came up with the environmental performance strategy map, which puts many environmental impacts and costs in one picture. Then, of course, came the development of supply chains for energy, the energy planning or power planning on industrial sites in time, and the most recent developments. This is the last development of total site integration for water with our latest PhD student who now works back in Malaysia. So all this research, we can go on for a few hours, but I think the point is clear. So all this research materialized in a lot of books. And I'm not sure if there are not more. These are the books I know about, because I took part personally. So we have the food industry, the first book on energy integration and sustainability, the handbook of process integration, 2 editions, the encyclopedia, the three editions of process integration and intensification with integrator, and our book on utility systems. So Professor Klemes, besides being involved heavily with SDEWES and research, he was also the Cape Working Party chair for 8 years. This is our last Cape meeting at Escape in Graz in 2018, where he handed over to the current Cape Working Party chair. So this is the history of Conference Press. Many of you have been participants there. We've been partnering with University of Zagreb on it as well. And it's still going on. It's going to be held soon, in a couple of weeks, in Thessaloniki. So journals, maybe many of you have received a decision from Professor Klemes on a paper submitted to any of these journals. So it's many journals we collaborated with. They're overlapping to a large extent with SDEWES, which is not a surprise. We've been tightly collaborating. And of course, the basis for this were lots of projects, patents, software. So just to come to the close to this short reminder of Professor Klemes. In a couple of weeks, on the 9th of October, we will hold a special forum at the beginning of the Conference Press. It will be in the morning. We are working to organize a Zoom session, so we will circulate it to everybody who wants to take part in the forum itself. So, thank you very much.
Professor Klemes will always stay in our memories and our hearts, and let him have eternal glory, as we can say here. Thank you, Peter. And now we know that we are electing politicians to make decisions for us. So it's quite important to then put some advices to them, etc. But politicians need to make decisions. We are scientists. We just provide them numbers and calculations. Of course, it's very important then to have a scientist as politician. So it's my great pleasure to now announce Professor Maria de Graça Carvalho, who is a member of our International Scientific Committee, and actually it's chairing it, but it's also a member of European Parliament, our highest body, which make decisions for all of us, which is selected by us and doing it for us. Professor Carvalho had quite a nice vision of future energy systems 15 years ago. But at that time, European industry didn't listen so much to Professor Carvalho. She said that future energy systems will may hold on 4 pillars, which are, of course, renewable energy, buildings as a positive power plants, energy storage, which means when you store energy, and then smart grids and electric vehicles. So it was 15 years ago, Industry didn't listen that time. I hope they will listen now, but now they are asking to protect the electric car industry from electric vehicles coming outside. So hopefully there are people who are listening to the scientists and they are making innovations and they are making competitions. So it's my great pleasure to announce Professor Maria de Graça Carvalho, who will now say something about the future of European electricity market design, which means that we need to change some things to become more efficient and to allow us all to produce, consume energy, and to have, as we like to say in Europe, affordable, clean, and secure energy. So, Professor Carvalho, please tell us what we need to do for the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind words. Actually, 15 years ago, I had the pleasure to collaborate with Neven and also with Goran at demonstration projects, and we managed to build a power plant in an island, Port Sant, from renewable hydrogen that was quite innovative for the time, and there is a lot of technology that could be scaled up and already in use for many years, and still it's not. So the researchers and the scientists have done their work. It's a lot of work that the rest of the society could have done, and it didn't. So let's hope that this time we get it right. And but with this, I would like to start to thank the organizers and mainly Neven Dwich, and to congratulate him and the team for keeping this and growing this series of conference, the SDEWES. We usually say that SDEWES is like a family. Once you join, you don't go away, so you keep coming back. I'm coming back most of the SDEWES since 2002. So I hope that is the same with all of you. It's a very interesting conference, networking, also the possibility for young researchers to publish and to make a network and to find partners for projects. And so I think it's a very useful conference for all stages of the researchers. As a member of the European Parliament, but my profession is to be a professor and researcher in the area of energy. I'm quite pleased to give you an overview of what is happening at legislative terms at European level. And there's a lot happening, as we are doing what I consider to be the biggest public policy change in public policy that happened in the modern times. When we look at the amount of regulations, directives and regulations in the last 40 years that the European Union has put forward, is really impressed and a game changer in the field of energy and the combat to climate change. Each of us as citizens has still not felt it, because part of that needs to be transposed to the member states, and will arrive to the member states 1 year later or 2 years later. So it's important that you are informed, that you are part of the discussion, not to be surprised with the results when it arrives to the real implementation in your day-to-day life. We are organized in 5 years periods. We are in the 4th year of this 5-year period, and in this term, the main priority was what is called the Green Deal, so the transformation with fight of climate change, but a transformation that takes in consideration the economy, the growth, and the jobs. And this is a strategy, so not a law. but just after 1 year after, we had the first climate law. It was the first part of the world that had a law for climate that makes the targets binding, so member states have to follow these targets, and the target is reducing emissions 55% in 2030 and becoming climate neutral in 2050. But to achieve this, we need to do sectorial regulations, directives, and we had 1 year after, in 2021, what we call Fit for 55, that present us to the European Parliament, because the initiative is the European Commission, a set of 17 directives that change most of the sectors, economic sectors, and present regulations or directives for these sectors. In the area of electricity production, in the area of energy production in general, in the transport sector, in the building sector, in the agriculture, in forestry, so in the transports, in all modes of transport, from aviation, shipping, road transport, all of that have directives with important transformations in our day-to-day life. I'm just going to refer probably the most, what I consider the most important one, the directive of the renewables, that it's for 2030, 45% of renewable energy, 42.5 completely binding, and 2.5 more optional, depending on the circumstances of the country. But a very interesting one is that 5% of this percentage needs to be what is called innovative technologies, so the ones that are not near the market today. And this pushes the development of innovative technologies in the area of renewables. I'm very proud, because this was an amendment of mine that I had to fight until the end. This directive is completely ready, already accepted by member states, so it will be transposed to the member states and it will start to be applied. There is other parts that are important. Biomass is in and is considerable, was a big discussion also with academics, is considered renewable, and there is a sustainability criteria for biomass like it was before. We had already one for biofuels. And we have biofuels that target 5.5% of biofuels of second generation for the transport, and we have a very important target, difficult to achieve, that is 42% of the hydrogen industry needs to be of renewable origin. It's quite an ambitious target, because it's 2030, and 2030 is quite close. One of the most polemic ones is the energy efficiency in buildings. We will have an invited lecture, the first invited lectures today in the conference. We are still negotiating with the member states, and this is quite ambitious. We have very ambitious targets for 2030 and some for 2033. To do the renovation of buildings in terms of energy efficiency. Is ambitious because the economic power of some of the European countries and the regions is not compatible with the requests of this directive. There are some exceptions. Some of these amendments were from mine. The historic buildings, the religious building, isolated buildings, buildings that are not inhabit for 4 months, so the summer buildings. There is also the requirement that all the new buildings will be zero emissions in 2030, and the public in 27. So this is also quite ambitious, and to sell and to rent, you need to have the certificate. So it means all the buildings need to have certificate. This is going to be a very challenge part of our 20 directives. The road transport, as you know, this was a big discussion. Until 2035, we will not sell. Europe will not sell more internal combustion engines. For the aviation, there are targets for the use of sustainable aviation fuels, 20% in 2035, 70% in 2050. Here there is a room for a lot of new research still, and also targets for the shipping, 6% of sustainable fuels in 2030 and 80% in 2050. So you see a lot of challenge. I just told you some, but I think we will manage. Just to give you the strength and the power of the European Union in this field. Before the war, we import from Russia 45% of the gas, 25% of oil, and 45% of coal. In the end of last year, we had less than 10% of importation from Russia. And we still are decreasing that very much. So what is missing on the list 27 is the electricity market design that is in certain way putting all this together. So the European Commission in March decided to put forward a reform of the electricity market design with two parts. One, the design of the market itself, and another regulation for avoiding manipulation of the energy price of the electricity that is called REMIT. I'm rapporteur of these files, and we have already the vote in plenary, so our position is finalized. We are negotiating now with the Council. Just very shortly, the electricity market design, I have set 3 very important objectives that I managed to include and to be approved by my colleagues. One is to put the consumers at the center, so protecting consumers and empowering consumers, protecting the consumers so they have more flexibility in fixed contracts or dynamic contracts. So a lot of options on the contracts. There is a crisis mechanism, an automatic crisis mechanism. You don't need a special regulation. If there is a crisis with certain conditions, member states can be declared crisis and they can help the consumers. But the part that I like and I think that is the future is the empowerment of the consumer. So we have enhanced the possibilities and make it easy, the auto production, the share of energy, the energy community. So it's a big part of this electricity market that is what I call future oriented, because I'm convinced this is the future, together with the digitalization of the market and the more decentralized market. So that is one of the important components. The second important component is to give incentives for investments. To do all this transition, we did a lot of investments. So there are many mechanisms to attract investments, like contracts for differences, so is the public contracts, the PPAs, power purchase agreements, and I have not accept any amendment that would damage the attraction of investments. There were amendments that were putting caps on the revenues of the inframarginal technologies. I consider that could have an effect of putting away investments to other parts of the world. So we didn't accept that. So there are no cap on revenues. And if there is a crisis, it's a different story, and there member states can act and protect the consumers, but in normal times we should allow the market to function, and the revenues is a good thing to happen. However, for example, the contract for difference will make the revenues benefit the consumers, and that was also a point that I want, that every consumer will feel the lowering of the price of the renewables, because what happens with the present market is even when the renewables price goes down, the consumers do not feel that. So this new design is made that consumers will feel that when there is a lowering of price of the electricity production, this is reflecting the consumers and in all the consumers, not only the vulnerables. Special attention has to be paid by the vulnerables, but all the consumers, middle class, industry, SME, so everyone will feel that the price is coming down. The third and last point that I want to stress is the internal market, the European internal market. So we have in this new design a complete European perspective. So we have not done special provisions for certain countries, and that was the most difficult problem, one of the most difficult parts, because everyone is very specific on energy, everyone wants to protect something, and we have very strong countries that I don't need to mention, or that they want to protect the nuclear, or they want to protect the coal. So this is technological neutral, is European, and defends the European energy internal market. But for that we also need to build more interconnections, to have a strong grid covering all Europe, not only interconnections, transmission and distribution, and there has been not a lot of investment in grids. So there are also incentives for the investments in grids, all kinds of electrical grids. So these are the three main components of the electricity market design. And on the manipulation, the second part, the remit on the manipulation, the fight against manipulation of prices, we have given more powers to the European regulators, that is called ACER, and we have increased the transparency, and we have include not only electricity but also gas and LNG. We were negatively surprised by some recent news where some countries have increased the import of LNG from Russia, because LNG in certain way escaped to the monitoring and the transparency of the energy monitoring that the European Commission was done. So now is complete. We are putting all the forms of energy. We are increasing the role at the European level and the transparency to try to avoid manipulation of the prices and to have a transparent view what is going on at the European level in terms of energy market. We have, as I told you, approved all these in the European Parliament with very good results. We are negotiating with the Council in the second part on the transparency and the fight against manipulation is going very well. We will finish very soon. In the electricity market, we are still having problems with some of the countries that want to have their own rules for the market, so we will see how we will finalize. I hope that it finalized before the elections. It's not a lot of time, but it will be important that we have this reform of the electricity market in place very soon. And that's mainly my message. As you can see, there is a lot of role for research and innovation in many of these areas. I would stress integration of the systems, the energy efficiency in buildings, in spite of we knowing a lot of the technologies, all the integration is going to be a very important topic. Hydrogen, the biofuels for aviation, for shipping, all that requires a lot, still a lot of research. So plenty of opportunities for researchers, and I will suppose that will be a lot of investment in these areas, because we really is for the first time all this is binding, so industry is reacting and needs the help of research centers and universities. So I hope this is useful for you. It's also a lot of opportunities in funding in Horizon Europe and other European programs and the regional funds that are Europeans but managed in the regions and in the countries. And we need your work to make sure that we have all that with clean technologies that are also affordable and accessible, because some of them are not in the market, like electrolyzers. We need the hydrogen, but there are not enough electrolyzers, so still they need to be built faster in an easy way, and also that depends on the researchers to help the industry on that. So thank you very much and good work.
Now we know what we will do for the next 10 years, and hopefully we will manage to get this more energy communities at the end. So I'm also inviting Professor Carvalho to join the panel tonight at 6. We will have a panel discussion on energy communities and democratization of energy systems. So you are all invited to come here and make questions, discussion, etc. So thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce the Professor Neven Dujic, who has also good analytic capability, and also he's good in making of visions, because 20 years ago he made vision that we will publish 3,000 papers in this journal, so we can see that it is feasible. Now he will talk a little bit about the future of gas. I hope it's not in pipelines, but I hope it's not the fossil gas. So let's see what the future of gas will be. Thank you, Neven, for your speak.
Thank you, Goran. Yesterday at Welcome, I mentioned how a resilient energy system in Europe played the loss of the main supplier of energy. And today I would like to talk what is the future of gas, because that was a very important source coming from that one supplier. ESAC is an organization which is Alliance of European Academies of Science, and at ESAC we provide with technical expert, science-based advice to the governments. We have done a report on future of gas. You can download it. It's free. If you just take a QR code, it will lead you there. So, coming back to the context, Europe managed to survive incredible change in supply of energy. In 21, we were importing 40% of gas consumption from Russia, 27% of oil imports were coming from Russia, and 46% of coal was coming from Russia. And now it has plunged for 90% for oil, 100% for coal, no more Russian coal is coming, and 86% for piped Russian gas. We can see these graphs down there. It was precipitous, and we survived. There is a big danger about nuclear fuel. Not only that Russia controls around 20% of production of uranium, it controls now with the Niger added to the allies, probably around 60 to 70% of the fuel supply. So we should be very careful about going nuclear. What happened with this gas? There was a huge reduction in the Russian piped gas. There was a slight increase on the right side of LNG from Russia, but it's so small compared to the loss of piped gas that it's negligible. We had significant new LNG being supplied to Europe from various sources, but the main reason that we managed to survive was demand reduction. And this proves that the markets worked perfectly. The point of markets is that if you have smaller supply, demand has to go down. And if markets work perfectly, that means that those that needed the gas the least will give off gas, switch to some alternative fuels, or move production somewhere else. Alternative would be to have cuts, administrative cuts. We had that in Eastern Europe, and it was really bad for the economy and for the population. So markets worked perfectly. They don't need tampering. They don't need changing. Marginal markets work. All this demand reduction was not a loss of production. Half of that demand reduction was because we switched to other fuels, to renewables. There was quite a lot of new renewables, to more efficient technologies, a little bit to coal, but that was a relatively small amount of energy. So we are doing excellent job in very fast transition, and in a way we can thank this unfortunate international crisis as a push to do much faster transition. When we look at where the gas is used in Europe, it's mostly in the buildings. And this is a problem because buildings are difficult to change. We need to invest in new infrastructure. This is why the buildings are actually the most important sector where we should concentrate our effort to remove gas from the equation. And Professor Carvalho has shown that we are working on that, and Professor Norton will show later how. But there are some issues we should take into account. Because of this switch to LNG, I think the time has come to look into carbon footprint of LNG and piped gas, because some are better, some are worse. We have to account for this methane, because this leaked methane makes natural gas worse than coal in heating if we have only 3% of leakage. So we should be accounting for methane. Because methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. When we look at 2100 a year, then it's okay to look at global warming potential of a 100-year period, which is already very high. But we are also thinking about what happens in the next 10 years. We are seeing that climate change is already having a significant impact. So we should look at also at the global warming potential of methane leakages in 20 years. And that one is 86 times higher than CO2. So removing the leakages or reducing the leakages of natural gas should be one of the priorities of any policy. So what about the buildings? We have excellent heating and cooling strategy in Europe since 2016. This was based on Stratego project, and nothing happened. we continue to put gas boilers in new buildings. And in this strategy, there are no gas boilers. We go district heating or we go heat pumps. So there is a problem. There is a whole series of buildings directives. Why do we need a new buildings directive every few years? Because the whole point of buildings directive is to remove fossil fuels from heating, but there is always a lobbyist way how to keep it there. So, in my opinion, as long as we are going to use primary energy as a criteria for the quality of energy used in buildings, we are under spell of gas lobby. So, one way how to move against fossil fuel heating is to include heating in ETS. That would be a very good measure because we would put the price on carbon. We will see how it works. We are moving into that direction. Some countries have already banned gas boilers or are moving into banning gas boilers, although there is a big fight in those countries against that. We will see how it works. But the European Union should basically ban gas boilers in any new and retrofitted buildings since at least 10 years ago. There was no point in continuing with putting fossil fuels into buildings, which are very difficult to remove, because once you have them, it's economic to keep them for at least 20 years. So it's a very long lock-in effect. We don't have such a lock-in effect in industry or in district heating or in power production, because it's very fast to move. When gas gets more expensive, we just use some other fuels or we move faster to renewables. Gas boilers in buildings is the most difficult issue, in my opinion, of decarbonization. So there is a fancy idea to put hydrogen in gas pipelines. Well, let's look what does it mean if we heat our houses with green hydrogen. For green hydrogen, we need to have renewables. If we use these renewables for heating, using heat pumps with COP3, then we are going to have 3 times more heating energy used for heating. But if we produce hydrogen, green hydrogen, then we have to pump it, we have to compress it, and then we burn it. We actually get 6 times less low temperature heat used for heating. 6 times. That means we need 6 times more wind turbines and solar panels. Do we really want that? If we go to electric methane, it's even worse because we lose on methanization of hydrogen, and we get around 10 times. We need around 10 times more energy than if we do it directly with electric energy. So why would anyone want to do that? When we think about recommendations of the report, we should go energy efficiency first, always. We should ban installation of new gas boilers in buildings, since they consume around 40% of natural gas in EU. We should push the switch towards heat pumps or district heating, depending on the density of heat demand. We should publish local heat maps because they're very useful for local policymakers to decide which way to go. And we should update heating cooling strategy for Repower Europe and better address local heating planning challenges and phasing out gas boilers whilst phasing in heat pumps and district heating. And we should also accelerate ETS2 for heating needs. On the other side, in power generation, around 30% of natural gas in EU was used for electricity generation. The taxonomy is recognizing natural gas as a transitional fuel when it replaces coal. It might make sense, but it's losing sense. I think in February 22, it has completely lost sense to do that. We need to go fast into renewables. Renewable electricity generation and grid infrastructure is critical for the acceleration of deployment of clean energy sources. We need probably some electricity market design, but I think it works well. We just need some better design of measures to push more renewables. And the renewable electricity supplied to hydrogen electrolysis, we need that, but we should be careful not to cannibalize the use of electricity for decarbonization of the power sector. If we look at curves, they are very optimistic. Wind and solar has been bigger than fossil fuels for first time in May this year, ever. And if we look at wind and solar together, it has become the biggest source of electricity in 22 already, bigger than nuclear. That is a bit thanks to the fact that French nuclear power plants were mostly shut down last year. So they will probably come back a little bit, but it's a clear direction where we go. So we think, and the ESAC report shows clearly, that natural gas is no longer a transitional option for replacing coal. So we think taxonomy update is needed, and we need to increase urgently renewable supply in order to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. And we need a higher renewable target in policy. We have ended decreasing it to 42.5%, but 45 is a minimum that we should have. So, what about hydrogen? I don't know if you ever heard that hydrogen is around 2% of final energy used in Europe. Hydrogen is big. 2/3 of that is used for producing of fertilizers, and 1/3 of that is mostly in refineries for hydrocracking. So this is obviously the first hydrogen that we should aim our green hydrogen to. We should not spend hydrogen where it will not stay, like for heating. We should use it where we already use it, and then after we do that, we should go into industries that cannot be electrified easily, and then push it there, like steel industry, for example. Europe has very optimistic goals for this hydrogen, and it plans to import significant part of hydrogen, which will be interesting for some countries. That's why we are organizing SDEWES next year in Chile, because Chile has enough of renewable resources to supply all this hydrogen. Australia also. So there are plenty of places with huge possibilities. But we are not going to bring hydrogen by boats. This doesn't work. Thermodynamics doesn't work. We lose 30% of energy by liquefying hydrogen, and then 1% is leaking every day. And hydrogen has quite high global warming impact. It's around 5. So we don't want to leak hydrogen. So we will probably be bringing ammonia or methanol by ships instead of pure hydrogen. Piping hydrogen from North Africa maybe makes sense. That can be done technically, but shipping, not really. And then another important thing is the idea of blending hydrogen into natural gas. This is the most crazy idea I ever heard in my life. it doesn't make any sense. If we put 10% hydrogen in, mix it with natural gas, we only reduce CO2 emissions for 1% if it's green hydrogen. So let's not waste green hydrogen on something that will not work. Because you cannot do more than 20%. If you do more than 20%, you have to reduce the pressures. So basically, you have to go to 100%. If we are going to pipe hydrogen, we need to do it 100% hydrogen pipelines. Blending is just a greenwash. So this is important message that we scientists who understand this message should be sending to policymakers. To end, we should use energy system integration to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We should prioritize renewables that deliver low operating and low embodied greenhouse gas emissions. Wind and solar generators have low operating and embodied emissions, so we should use them with demand response, heat storage, sustainable backup generation. Hydropower can be dispatchable, so we should optimize it, its annual contribution at EU level, and we should monitor impacts of climate change on water flows, because this is a coming problem in the next decades. Regarding biogas and biomethane, we should produce them only from the wastes, and we should use them for high value and hard to electrify applications, so again, not for heating, because they're a limited resource. And we should minimize leakage of the high global warming potential of methane. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dujic, for your providing us vision of the future of fossil gas, but also other gases. Are there any burning questions, maybe for our introductory lectures? It was not common to ask the questions, but we have time to, if there... Online, okay, so we have people from hybrid, okay.
Yes, we have one question, online question. The question is, what is the role of nuclear energy in the EU strategy? It wasn't even mentioned.
Maybe that's the reason why it was not mentioned, but please answer. Yeah.
What is the EU strategy?
What is the role of nuclear energy
In the EU strategy. The nuclear is there. All the strategy in certain ways tries to be technological neutral, so taking in consideration that it should be low emissions technology. Recently, as probably you know, there was a lot of discussion. Nuclear was considered a low emission sustainable technology in the taxonomy debate, in the taxonomy regulation in the EU. So nuclear is part, like renewables, but the choice of technologies or the choice of energy mixing is a responsibility of the member states. So each member state is free to choose the mix of technologies, taking in consideration the targets that they have to achieve of very strict targets of reduction of emissions. So the member states that decide to choose nuclear, they will choose nuclear. On the electricity market design, nuclear is there, and as the renewables is treated exactly in the same way. But there has been a big debate because there are benefits for the new investments, but not for retroactivity. It means not for installations that already exist and that do not do any improvements. And the countries that have a lot of nuclear are claiming that they want retroactivity of benefits for the existing power stations. And that will give a lot of advantage for the countries that have a lot of nuclear power stations. I'm thinking about mainly one. That will be a way that they can regulate with very low price the energy and to do unfair competition in the industrial sector with all the other member states. So in the European Parliament, we didn't accept that. So there is no retroactivity, only the ones that want to improve the power station. So if nuclear wants to improve, if it wants to extend the time with the improvement, retrofitting, it's entitled to these benefits. If not, it's not entitled to the benefits. This question is still under discussion in the Council, and is the only point that is preventing the Council to close the file. Is this special, the fight between France and Germany, because the German has a certain way afraid that the industry will suffer from this retroactivity, but will not be only German, Italy, special everyone, but special the ones closer and more industrialized would be damaged by this retroactivity of the investments of power stations that didn't improve in their investments. So this is a big, big debate and fight between France and the rest of the European countries at this point. But in the European Parliament we solve it, and I think that it's the correct way, taking consideration if we want to have electricity market that is fair and improves the competition and a fair competition between the member states and a truly energy internal market in Europe.
Thank you. Just to repeat that we met here to discuss sustainable development, which means that we need to satisfy our own needs. We are a little bit greedy, but we must not to compromise the ability of the future generations to satisfy their own needs. And then we need to think about future generations. And for me, it's difficult to think about people that will live here 10,000 years to 1 million years in this planet. And this is how long we need to protect waste from nuclear power plants. Of course, we know how to make it safe, but as a researcher, I'm not sure how I need to discount the operational and maintenance cost of these facilities for 10,000 to 1 million years. So this is something that we will need to discuss, and that's why we are here. Sustainability of nuclear power is really important issue, and we are here to discuss it. Hopefully, we have a time for one short question, if it is really short. No, there was one before, so Professor Kirkish, you will... Yeah, please. Huh? You can ask one question. Yeah.
My question will be short. I'm Ivo Potov from TU Delft. And first I would like to thank all the speakers for the really inspiring presentations. I have a question on the market, electricity market design. There are increasing issues with congestion on the distribution and transmission grids. And to what extent are these issues going to be mitigated with the new market design?
Yes, it's one of the points that we try to provide a solution in the new market design, special also with the offshore electricity generation, and all the solutions are to be agreed with the regions and to the member states. So there is an important part of the new regulation that takes in consideration and solutions for this problem, but it puts also the regions and the member states involved in that solution. It's addressed.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. And now we need to move on with the program because the rain is coming and we don't want to Photoshop the sky. So, Tomislav, can you please, Professor Pukšić will try to explain a little bit of the rules of this conference and how we need to behave to have a successful conference. Of course, that we understand the crisis problems, so if there are any of issue with your flights or the health, we can make some exceptions, but in general, we like to follow the rules. Okay.
Yeah, we need to follow the rules. Okay, thank you, Goran. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be able to welcome you on our 18th SDEWES conference. I'll be very short, give you a few information and a few pointers regarding the conference implementation, let's say. First of all, as you probably saw already, this is a hybrid conference, which means we have an online participants and we have on-site participants. The reason why on-site participants had to pre-record their presentations and their research is because the online participants can also have access all of your papers and all of your research. But whether you're online or whether you're on-site, the key issue is that you actually present your paper. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, unfortunately, the papers would be cancelled. Of course, since we had different kind of delays regarding flights, etc., so if there's some kind of emergency case, there's always a possibility to switch to online sessions. When it comes to presenting your paper, especially for people that are here for the first time, if you're doing it in a session or in a poster session, or I mean oral session or a poster session, it's quite nice for you to be in your rooms around 15 minutes before the session starts, so you can copy your presentation, so you can test if everything is okay. Someone from the local organizing committee will be in the rooms 15 minutes before. They will assist you in any way. More or less the same advice applies to chairs and co-chairs, so it's also nice to be there a little bit earlier because it's nice to meet the people that will be a part of your session, the session you are chairing. Okay, some other pointers. So when it comes to lunch, we will have lunch in a restaurant which is right in front of this main corridor with the rooms A, B, C, and D. You all got your lunch coupons, so for each day you will have like a lunch coupon and you will just give it to the person in front of the restaurant. Another point, we will have a social visit on Wednesday, and you also got your social visit coupon depending on which trip you have chosen. So you had like three options, but you also had an option just for the dinner, or if you didn't want to go to the social visit, your coupon would be just lunches. There will be additional information regarding the social visit on Wednesday morning with all the data. We will post it all around the conference venue, but you also have all the data on the conference website, so I would suggest for all the information that you might have, you can always check the web page. Of course, if you have any questions, issues, problems, you can always come to the registration desk. Someone from the local organizing committee will be there, and we would be very happy to assist in any way. Finally, also maybe a short info. This year we have quite a lot of side events, which are quite nice and diverse. So we have energy planning and tool development in InterEnergy. We have integrated assessment models in locomotion. We have smart islands in Insula. We have SDEWES project exchange on Friday, which will be very interesting for people that want to connect and try to find potential partners in different kind of EU project consortiums. We also have a workshop on energy supply and resilience of energy systems. So quite a lot of side events, and I hope you will find some of them interesting and join us on these side events. Final note, after the award session, we will have a group photo. Hopefully, if there's no rain outside, then the group photo will be just when you exit this main hall, go out to the terrace and right. We will have like there's like a terrace there, and we will have our group photo there. In case the rain starts in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then the group photo will be in the main hotel lobby. Okay, that's it. I was very short. Of course, as I said, if you have any questions, any issues, you can always come to the registration desk. We will be very happy to assist in any way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tomislav, for the nice introduction of the rules and the opportunities. And now maybe we need to say this is the part of the opening sessions that we are waiting the most, because we will announce the winners of awards for this SDEWES conference. And I'm inviting Professor Natasha Markovska, SDEWES Center Vice President, to also say who are winners of the awards. So I hope we will also manage to have them. Some are online, but some are here in person. So Natasha, the floor is yours. Thank you.